lesson in Illustrator. So this time we're going to build a building. We will work on layers to get this kind of depth and then also add some text at the end. So let's dive right in. We're going to go to File, New. Ooh. We're going to go like a basic letter 11 by 8.5. We're going to make sure it's horizontal. We are going to set up a bleed. Remember that bleeds are an additional expense when printing because not only do you print, but then you also go back and trim all 4 sides. So it's a more expensive printing process. Currently, printers do not print all the way to the edge. A little odd, actually, when you think about it in today's age. So there's always going to be a whiteboard, no matter how fancy the printer is. So that trimming is an extra process, costs more. We also typically use CMYK for print. I like to think of it as, it has one additional color, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, which makes it a little bit better print. RGB is always going to be for digital. You do have to understand the two because now currently we're almost always putting up utilizing our artwork and design in both a print piece and a digital piece. But we'll leave ours as CMYK and we'll leave the rest and we'll hit create. Okay, remember that the red mark is the bleed. This little area is the trim area. It could happen anywhere here. You've got to make sure your unimportant artwork, mostly your background artwork, gets pulled to this red mark because they could trim anywhere in here. So if you have a weird little white spot and they happen to trim closer to the red than the white artboard, then you'll actually see it. So keep that in mind. All right. I'm going to hop back to the lesson. I like to have mine open over to the side, very small. You can see it here. I think that's a great way to work if you're going back and forth between things, whether it's the typed out bullets or it's the actual full video. So we have this picture. You can always right click, save image. Give it a minute. I'm going to go to desktop, student, my name. I'm going to drag this whole thing over so you can see it better. Intro to computer graphics. I made a folder that was located down below. I'm trying to drag it up now, where you could make an SCF building. I already did that. And then I'm going to save this there. So hit save. And this is a local on my computer. So if I walk away from this computer and do nothing else, I do not have this file. Keep that in mind. All right, let me move this back out of our screen. Okay, at this point, let's just go ahead and quickly save. Knowing where we're saving it, whether it's on our computer or the Creative Cloud, we need to work on our computer and then just save on our Creative Cloud. It's a little bit better practice. So again, I'm going to go desktop, student, my name, intro, find that building. I'm going to name it my name SCF building. I'm going to add a 2 to this one since I already have it once and hit save. Leave the defaults, hit OK, and here we go. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to place this image that I've just downloaded, which is this SCF building found online, and I'm going to hit place. I don't like to click and drag. I like to just click. It gives me a more native file size. So to me, it's an indicator if I need to find a new file, like if something's going terribly wrong and this is a postage stamp. This one's fine. We're also only using it as a template. So I can scale it a little bit. You got to be real cautious with scaling things. It can get out of hand. So I'm going to even put my template at the bleed just to help remind me. And then I'm going to hit Shift on my keyboard. I'm right-handed, so I'm using my left hand. And remember, graphic design is a lot about coordination of looking at your screen, moving your right hand with possibly a mouse or a digital tablet, and utilizing your left hand for keyboard. So you got 3 things going on at once. If you don't start practicing that, if you're only using one hand and you're always just going back and forth a lot slower, start trying to incorporate where you're coordinating your eyes and both your right and left hand. This is art. This is a piece of the puzzle in becoming a great digital artist. So, all right, I'm going to hit, for me, my left hand shift. I'm not going to be here. This is for moving it. This is for scaling it. I've got my main selection arrow, not direct select. I'm going to hold shift and then click, hold, drag this guy to the edges. And you're like, well, he doesn't go to the bottom. He doesn't. If that was important, I could pull it out further, but then notice no matter what I did, I'd be kind of cropping off a little bit of the edge. So I'm going to bring it back in, still holding shift each time that I do it, to just the red marks, and then I'm going to utilize that big space at the top for the text that you saw. Okay, template is set up. Let's go be smart about our stuff and name it and lock it. New layer. Let's call this building. You could also call it art. You also need to understand you're going to start with what layer you think is going to work, and sometimes as you're creating, things need to get moved to different layers to get different effects to occur, excuse me. And so you have to be flexible. You start with one, you move things with a cut and a paste in place if you need them. Okay, let's dive right in. So my building, and I'm on this layer. I'm not on this layer. Okay, on this layer. Let's close this so we can kind of see. You can always Command 0 and it pops everything into place, fills your screen. Let's also notice this little asterisk. Let's go ahead and save. We know we're saving locally. We put that in our student folder. At the very end, we can go save on one of our clouds as a backup. I can see that my building is pretty symmetrical. So I'm going to start with this center building. Then I'm going to build this side, and then I'm going to reflect it with a copy onto this side. And then we're going to kind of simplify. We're not going to go into all the bushes and the landscape and the fountain. We're going to really simplify some of the surrounding. And when I look at this building, one of the first things I see is this kind of facade at the front, and then I can see that they're like columns, and then there's the wall behind it. So I'm going to start with this facade in the front, and I'm going to cut out these holes so that I have like one thing that can then cover like all this artwork that's kind of the back wall, we'll say. So watch how easy that can be. And I, for this lesson, am not going to get into all the details of like, well, there's a lip of extra here and a lip of extra there and yada yada. We're going to do a little bit simplified for this, and as your skills progress, you can add more detail. This will give you the foundational information. Okay, so I'm going to go in, and I'm going to span this front guy and try to get him sort of where I think he is. I'm going to flip to strokes. I'm going to zoom in because we're not going to work forever far away. And yeah, look, I have the bottom at kind of where the bottom of that column is, top up there. All looks good. Now, I want to cut out these other holes. So, like, let's go in with this. And I want to drag that past my edge. Or it won't properly pathfinder. We're going to minus this from it. Okay. And then we'll do one over here, which is very hard to see where it's going. I'm going to say it's probably there because I'm looking over at this side and I can see how it goes to about there, like where that line is. So this is probably that. I'm going to copy. I'm going to Command Shift V and paste in place. I'm going to start to drag this, and I'm going to hit Shift so it keeps it right in place and just move this guy right over, and look how he kind of lined up perfectly. All right, now we're going to grab all these items. Click, drag over all of them. There's nothing else around it, so that's an easy thing. We're going to look for our Pathfinder window. If it's not open, go up to Window. Look for Pathfinder. We will leave this open in our main kind of Windows area. And it looks like this guy. So I'm going to click on Pathfinder. Now I'm looking for the one that says minus the front from the back. We're going to minus these windows from that rectangle. And now you can see we have this nice little kind of front facade. We're going to do that for the other buildings later on. Okay, let's continue. Now we've got all this background. So let's dive in kind of this middle one. And again, sort of simplifying. I want to look at my layers. I'm going to call this building front. I'm going to make a new layer underneath it called building windows because I can already see where that's going, that I want to be able to like hide stuff like extra edges around this guy. So I'm going to lock building front. I'm going to be in building windows and we're going to start to create again. I can see it's got this like top part, and again, I don't care if I go within this, I'm going to call it the frame, the front of the building frame, because it's in the front on the top. It's going to cover anything underneath it. It still exists, so it's fine. Okay. I want to do like the glass of the window, and then I want to do the frame of the window. So we'll start with the glass. Sometimes I get annoyed how I can't like bud this up right next to it. I'd have to be, well, he's not even gonna let me. Oh, now he'll let me. Just gotta kind of work the system. He's down to here. I want him in just the tiniest bit. I'm going to grab colors as I go. I'm going to make my windows dark. I'm not going to deal with the reflection. I'm just going to go with this darker color because I can see it's often in the windows. So there's him. We'll flip him for now and then we'll flip them back. Okay, now let's do our framework. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to cover the black window with a frame. You could add a stroke to the black window, but I want to be able to use that frame to kind of bury some of the smaller segments underneath it. So here I go. I'm going to grab that. Oh, it bugs me how I can't get right in there. I'm going to go a little bit further off. Just a little bit. See how now I'm covering that other side. And then let's grab this kind of like metal look and flip it. So now he is like a frame. So what that would do, and just pause and watch for a second. We have only, like when I go and select, because I've locked this layer, I'm not messing with those. And by making them on two different layers, yes, you could dive into some of your sub layers. That would also work, but this is what works best for me. So here's my two layers. I can grab both. I can shift select that top one so that I only get the black window. You could also come over if you knew which one it was. Like I can see this is the black window, and you can double click to make it selected, and then there it is. Okay, let's swap that guy back. Let's just click on this last one because then it'll usually load that as our next stuff, but we'll see. We can always change that. Let's add these lines. Let's tuck them right behind this frame we've made. I like to hit shift to make it straight. Straight. We'll do this middle bar as just a big like bar. We'll change the color to just a little, we'll say lighter. You gotta go with one. It's really almost the same, but I want it to be just a little bit different. And then we'll go back to our line and we'll do this kind of thick one. We can beef up the thickness if we want for that guy. We could have done that same thing here for this one, but I did not. And then now let's go up and do the same, kind of tuck it behind that stroke we've made for that kind of framework. Bring these back down to what they're supposed to be. Line, line, line. Sometimes, frequently, there's a command -0 so we could see, but now let me zoom back in. Frequently, you'll need to like hide stuff so you can see what's happening. And it's kind of hard, obviously, because of that, everything being white right now. I could have chosen a different stroke color, but I can see I've got my windows. Oh, and I did not bring anything down to there. And I know there's supposed to be doors there. So let's go make some additional adjustments to this. So I'm going to grab these three, shift, click, click. I'm going to hover down here and pull these down. Then I'm going to go find this guy. And I want to make sure he's on top. So I'm going to drag him up to the top. And then I'm going to find this guy, and I'm actually going to make sure he's the one truly on top because he's going to frame everything in. I could even make him like a tiny bit bigger if you wanted. Okay, now we've got some good stuff happening. Let's go change this one's color to that. I could grab this again, and you could swap it. Oh, and we know we need to swap that. All right, so now we have a window set. Let's do very similar using this for these other windows because I can see they all have that top. They all have the same like black window frame, but it looks like they only have 3 sets in the side windows. So let's utilize this guy. Let's go Command C, Command Shift V, drag him over. I'm going to go with this side and then I'm going to adjust from there. And you can see that's right where the 3 would line up. Okay, let's just swap him so we can see what's happening. I'm going to take off one line because they don't have 4 windows on the sides. They only have 3. Then I'm going to grab my frame, then my window, then my topper, and move all of these little things. So like he needs to be moved over behind this facade framework. He needs to be moved over behind this facade framework. Doesn't totally matter if they line up because you're not going to see him anyways. He needs to move. Be very careful that you are only pulling him in. Oh, and he needs to move over behind. It's like the black of the window. Okay, let's just test that. Make sure that's pretty good. Yep. Yep. And you can see because like look at these lines right here and here. Right here and here. That I am pretty close to where those lines would be. Okay, let's copy and paste to make this symmetrical. I don't want stuff from my middle window. I only want stuff from my front window. If you get something that you don't want and it's like just one thing, you can always hit shift and click to unselect it. Whoop. There we go. Okay. Grab these guys, Command C, Command V. That puts him right in place, Command Shift V, so that he is not funky. And actually, now that I'm seeing it, I want to swap that as a reflect. So let's go up to Object. You're going to guess and check stuff sometimes. I'm giving you options for how to do things. There's a lot of different ways to do every single thing for the most part that we do in any of these programs. So if you end up finding a significantly better technique that you like, that's fine. All right, we want a vertical, we want a copy. Thank you. I'm going to start to move him. I'm going to hit shift though to keep him like in place. And I'm going to put him, ooh, he looks like he's about right there. Then I'm going to go double check that none of my lines, because I can see some of them do, run over. So let me go move those, tuck them in behind this framework. Looks like I need to do the same over here, which is obviously why it copied over. Okay. We have 2 sets of windows. Let's change this facade so that you know what I'm what we're talking about. So let's go grab our eyedropper, grab a color from here, and there you go. Now look how easy it was just to set up, you know, some degree, a little simplified, but some degree of these windows. Okay. Next, I can see I've got big gaps. And like while maybe you can see through the column behind the building through these side ones, you definitely couldn't here. So I need to fill those in. I'm going to lock my building front, show this again. Make sure I'm in my building windows, and I'm just going to go make a layer. It's hard to see. You can see some of it there, and then it's covered by trees. So we're going to sort of make this up. And it does not look like there's anything that shows like white, like these buildings would tuck in behind it. So we're going to do one of these, a big one, still tucking him behind this facade. But because he's set back further, we are going to choose a darker version of him, a more shaded version. And then we are going to put him way at the back. We're going to come into our layer, we can see him, and we're going to drag him to the very bottom of that layer. And now we've got a pretty good start to this building. Select off of it so we can see what we're doing. Awesome. Okay, let's get into the roof line. There's a few different ways you could start this. I'm going to start a roof, and we'll go from there. I can see this little line's kind of nice. Maybe I'll do it. Obviously, it needs to be a different color. And then just like make them the lines, although that one doesn't matter. He doesn't get in front of anything. Okay, now let's go make these little squares. Just like cubes, kind of like the lessons we've already been doing. So I'm going to grab my square. I'm going to make a closest square. Tuck a little, I don't want a gap at the bottom, so I'm just gonna kind of barely tuck in behind there, and I can always move this up. Let's leave it like that for a minute so we can also do this inner little square, and then let's even do this like as a cube. So I'm going to do my side, and then I'm going to adjust using direct select and the arrows on my keyboard. Which gets a little funky because of the stroke. But let me show you how easy that is to fix. Swap it back. Swap it. Find my front. We need to darken or lighten. So we'll darken him so we can see him like he's a little shadow. That got really dark. A little less. Okay, and then this side you can see is much darker, so let's make him much darker. This is in the shade. And now we've kind of got, you know, from a distance, you can tell it sort of looks like that. Let's lighten this guy. Not so much. And then we're going to copy and paste to use this stuff for the other ones. So let me grab these, and now let me show you one technique with this that's kind of fun. Grab your pen, click on the 2 points. So now this is an open shape, we're just using it as strokes. Let's lighten the stroke that's getting hit by the sun and leave the top stroke, which is in the shade, darker. So I'm going to select just this line. Looks like I'm doing the whole thing, but in reality, it's just this line. I'm going to go double click, and I'm going to make him much lighter. Maybe even a tiny bit more so you can see it better. And now look, when I zoom out, how that starts to really give that effect of like the little edge. Okay? Let's copy and paste just the front, not this side. Command C, I love Command Shift V. Drag him into place. He doesn't really have an edge showing because he's like almost straight on. Then let's grab all of these except for this, hit Shift, and let's copy them with a reflect. Thank you. And drag him. Now if you accidentally click off, then all that stuff is double layered up on each other. So I make it look kind of easy, but you have to be right on it, start moving, and then I hold Shift and it like keeps it in place and goes super fast. Let's go move this guy on top. So he kind of hides everything. You know, he is hiding everything. Our funky little edges. All right, that looks good. Next, let's start on kind of the blue roof. Let's simplify this guy a little bit. We're just going to do one big edge. no big deal. Edit, bring him over. He's kind of here. Swap, get the right color. Great. Let's go do similar. I'm going to show you another technique using the scale tool. So I'm going to draw another rectangle really similar. I can see from here I've got a little gap I do not want. Bring him down. Now go grab your direct select, click, shift, click. I have those 2 points selected. Grab your scale tool. Because this is symmetrical, I can grab one, it's going to do it for both, and just pull them in until it's a point. Bam. You can see how close. If that bugs you that they're up too high, which it is, we can always use our arrow to just bring it down a little bit. Perfect. Let's double check we don't need to swap anything for our lines because that's funker. Because I pulled it too far. Grab both of these. I'm just going to use my... Oh, there we go. Now he's perfect. Or nearly perfect. Okay. That's cool. But one, I want it to be lighter, and then I want to add these lines. So let's go grab lighter. Let's swap them so we can see what we're doing. Awesome. Let's go make some lines. It's a little more advanced. We're going to do 2 lines and then let them fill in the middle. So I'm going to do a line out here that looks sort of angled but not crazy. I'm going to go to main select. I'm going to select it again. I'm going to go object, transform, reflect. I do want to copy. Thank you. These will now be exact. Tuck him kind of in the same vicinity. Now shift click on both of these. And if you count between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's about 30. That's halfway. Let's get the computer to do some of those lines for us. So go to Object, Blend. Blend option is down a little bit out of my screen. Sorry about that. Let's just guess 30. Let's actually guess 28 because I think it's going to account for these two guys. For specify steps, not smooth. Let's hit OK. You're like, gotta do this again. Go back up to Object, Blend, hit Make. Oh, and look, it almost perfectly aligned to the right number that we needed because we actually counted it out. You can always adjust this blend just a little bit. So the in-betweens are sort of, they're kind of the magic of the computer doing it. The only things we can adjust are the 2 main ones. So if I click on just this point, not this point, but just this top point, and I use my arrows to hit right, notice how it starts to curve them. Same thing over here. Notice how it starts to curve all of them. And I don't need to be too crazy, but that gets me close. Okay. Great. Now, we have these lines. Oh, we also want them to be darker. So let's go adjust that. Careful with how you're adjusting them. There we go, much darker. Now we want to mask this into the shape of the roof. So we need a background, then we need the kind of pattern, which happens to be this roof pattern. Then we need a copy of the background to work as a clipping mask. So here's my background selected, that roof line. I have it as a stroke right now, but here you go. Now you can see it like that. And let's even move this. Nope, not like that. Oh, yes, like that. There we go. I want to tuck in that bottom. All right, so grab my roof again. Here it is. I'm going to go Command C, Command Shift V to paste in place. I'm going to hit Shift, click onto one of the 2 lines. And then the shortcut for it, unless you want to go up to Object, Create Clipping Mask, which is down towards the bottom, is Command 7, which I love. And now it's clipped inside that. If you need to edit it, you need to double click. It gets you into the isolated group, so just be careful you get back out of this when you need it. You can always double click again. Oh, there it is. Oh, I need to adjust a point. Or I need to, you know, whatever, change the color and then go back out to the main. All right, so we're making a lot of progress. Let's look at what this guy looks like. Okay, so we need the dark part of the roof. That's easy. Let's go make a rectangle that sort of spans the majority of this section. Let's grab direct select and our 2 points only with shift click. Grab that scale tool that we used for the top of the roof. Click on one, it's going to bring both in, and boom. Grab our eyedropper, get a color. Let's go move him into the back, really. He needs to be the furthest back. So you could either open this up and move him all the way down. You could also Command Shift left bracket, and it forces him down to the very bottom of that. Just another shortcut key. And then when we look at this guy, we've got a building. Let's go do a lot of that for the sides. Copy and paste them. All right. Lock. Be smart about your stuff and hit save. Show my template again, and let's start with this side building. Okay, if you get a little indicator like this, it's because all my layers are locked. Make a new layer. I'm actually going to bring this new layer behind this main building because I want to tuck all this behind this guy. So side building left, because we'll make another one. Could just be side building. So we're going to do something very similar for this guy that we did for the others. And, excuse me, I'll shut the door. We are going to make that front facade on this side. And then kind of tuck our window stuff behind it. So let's dive right into that. Let's grab him. We're going to kind of go about this direction. Swap it so we can see what we're working with. Okay. Now let's use our direct select tool to make some adjustments. Like this needs to tip over just a little bit to account for this perspective. And this one does as well. Let's now make our cutout windows just like we did the first time. So I'm going to do the tops. And I'm actually going to copy and paste him once I get him into place a little bit better. So move him over. Move him over. Okay, let's copy. Command Shift V, move him over. And I'll fix him. Although he went in place pretty well. Copy, Command Shift V, move him over. He's almost in place. Let's just barely adjust him. He probably needed to be slightly adjusted too. Okay. Command C, Command V. And a little bit of this is like a fisheye from whatever camera was used. So just depends on how your shot's taken in advance. Okay, let's grab all of these and Pathfinder it out like we did the first time. Where's my Pathfinder? Oh yeah, he's down at the bottom. We're going to minus. And now we have this nice little frame. We can even make him obviously the same color. So there's the frame. Now let's tuck everything in kind of behind it. Let's utilize sort of our same technique. Let's actually call this front. Lock him, and then let's make a new layer for the windows. Side building windows. And we'll do really similar to what we've done over here for this. So we're going to make the black background. let's do the exact same color as over here. Swap them so we know what we're doing. Yes, you are making some of this up because we can't see everything. That looks pretty decent. Okay, we're gonna do a blue, and let me double check. It almost looks like the blue rests on the top, but we'll tuck him in. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this blue or get this same color because I want it to be the same, and I'm just gonna bring him in here. I'm gonna do very similar with my lines. Then I want one. Let's go grab the same line if it'll let me. I think it did. And we'll go Command C, Command Shift V, and bring him over. And then like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe 4 of these. Click, Object, Blend, Blend Options. Let's say 4, because I'm going to fill in between. Probably need another one. Blend, Make. Yeah, it looks like we need another. So Command Z to undo. Blend options. Let's go make this 5. Hit OK. And let's go make. There we go. All right, now we need a background, which is going to be this guy. And he's not receiving as much light, so he does need to stay dark. So then probably what needs to happen is these guys need to be a little bit darker to account for some of that, and I can see I'm getting closer anyways to what they really look like. That's pretty close. Okay, so that's our background. We want to Command C, Command Shift V, fill it, grab our point. You can make a clipping mask, or you can go Command 7. And then we just need to swap the one that is back there. Hold on. I gotta unselect some of these. And he still didn't grab. So let's go find him, this guy, and swap him. There, now we can see. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's do the full gamut of this and then see where we're at. So we've got this window. We need this like middle section. We did it like this before, so we will continue like that. I'm gonna use this to tip that over, but I am gonna line this up pretty close. Okay, good. Got our background window. Okay, but we need to be able to see for our lines. Grab for our lines, and let's make these dive behind, and then I'll tuck them behind that gray. And then we also have a frame we need to make. Let's go grab the color that we want. Oop, not you, really, you. Let's grab these two. I drop them into that color. Let's move this guy to the top. Command Shift right bracket. So now everything's kind of behind there, but I still need a frame. So I'm going to use the black as my base and go Command C, Command Shift V, but I want it to be that color. All right. Now let's go grab this black one and swap them and check out what we've done, which is very close. We need like the base of the building, kind of like what we did over here. So let's do our other windows and then add that base all at the last minute. All right, so we're gonna grab this window, whole window. we're going to do our best to try to copy and paste him 3 other times. So Command C, Command Shift V, move him into place. I need to be closer. I love my arrows. Okay, Command C, Command Shift V, arrow him into place. He needs a slight adjustment with a lot of points. So let's tackle that. I know that the black box, the gray frame, and then these 3 lines, and actually this guy too, all need to move. So I'm going to select just these bottom points. I don't have these selected. It's a little hard to see. Let's adjust that so you can see better. Okay. So see how I have just these 4 points selected. Now I can just arrow, dink, 2 over. I can arrow, 2 over. It all comes together, right? Real subtle. Okay, let's use this guy for our adjustment. Command C, Command Shift V. Move him into place. Zoom in so you know what you're doing. And he kind of tucks back there. We're going to move him in like that. And he's pretty close. So let's do the same thing with just a couple of clicks. Not go too crazy with it. So I missed that one. So let's do it again. Bloop. Shift click. And you should have all my points. And then I'm just going to give it 2 clicks. Just to kind of get it over there and in that perspective. And then don't forget about this guy. And we're getting close. Okay, great. Let's go make the rest of the building. Grab our rectangle. Come over here. Make, some degree of a building that we're going to tuck in behind here. Let's go fix it. We want this darker color. We're staying consistent with our colors. We're also going to swap it so we can see what we're doing. We're going to grab just this point. Click and bring it down. I'm not going to fiddle with the fact that this goes over. We're just going to bring him down into place. Like that's not even happening. And move him into place. And he doesn't totally matter. Swap. Perfect. If that's bugging you, you can bring him up. In theory, he would kind of like tuck behind there like that. Okay. Let's make an additional 4, like kind of how we did back here for that like back wall that the windows are sitting in. Like this. Swap them so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Grab my direct select. Definitely move him over. I'm moving it behind the columns. I know I'm not doing all the side. You could get in there with a whole nother little shape to make that side. You might hear my chickens, y'all. And okay. Swap him. Move him to the back. I love a command. Now, I have 1 piece selected or 1 point selected of the 4. I like to go back to my main arrow and re-click on him. It just kind of resets it like, yes, I'm trying to move him and not adjust a point. Command Shift left bracket sends him all the way to the back. And now we've got this. Let's go fix this point up here I can see. Cool. Let's copy and paste this over for the other side. We want to grab our 2 layers of the side. Now I left this side building, this like front piece, as a different layer because that was helping me at the time. Now for this other building, I won't need that. I'm going to make a new layer. Doesn't quite matter, but needs to be down below this main building. I'm going to call this building right. I'm going to unlock my 2 layers that I utilize for that side building, but leave everything else locked. And I'm going to select this. Notice how, because he's locked, nothing happens. I'm going to go up to Object, Transform, Reflect, Copy, drag him over, find his place. I'm hitting Shift to make bigger adjustments. And it's close, but let's go see what's super different about him. He's almost a tiny bit smaller, isn't he? Let's look at his width. Now, I don't say this often because you have to be really careful with shrinking things, but you could do like the teensy tiniest. That gets crazy and then looks very different than that. So we're not going to do that. Let's see what he looks like. He's very close. He almost needs to get moved up just a little bit to be more symmetrical. We're going to use some artistic licensing and get him more into place of what's symmetrical with this other side. Is it perfect with this? No. But it works for our visual appeal. Okay. We have a building. Awesome. Let's unlock even our template. And let's center up this building just a little bit before we do our final touches. Okay, so next we're going to work up sort of the background and this little foreground, but really, really simple. Let's lock everybody. We don't need to move anything. Let's hit save, because that would be slightly devastating at this point if we lost our save. Let's go make some foreground and some background. Foreground needs to be in the front. It's like the roundabout. So we're going to do a few things. We're going to make a grass layer, and then we're going to stack things up on top of it. So, yes. Grass. Cool. I'm even going to bring him up a little higher so that he covers the back. And he might need to get moved to the back. So let's test out this theory. I'm going to grab some green from here. Yep. And we are going to move him straight to the back. So this is a great piece of the lesson for moving things when you put them in the wrong layer. So I don't want him in foreground. I want him in a layer that I'm going to call background. I'm going to go Command X. He disappears. I'm going to click into background and go Command Shift V. Now he's there, but he's nestled behind all of our building. You can do at this point the same for the sky. And notice how I'm dragging everything past those red line bleed marks. Let's go get some actual like light blue color. Not bad. We can make him just slightly brighter. Still feels kind of funky. I want it pretty light. Because I want my building to stand out. So I don't want that sky to be like such a big bold moment that he takes away. Okay, now sky's on top of the grass. Weird. Let's swap those. Good. Let's lock the background. Let's even hide it for now and go back to foreground. And now let's do this roundabout. Grab our ellipse. I can see it's a circle. I'm going to make a circle to some degree. So let's make an oval that we think is close to that shape. And then adjust it when we need to. There we go. I'm not fiddling with the sidewalk. I'm not fiddling with half of that stuff. There's that guy. Great. Let's go make just a couple of layers to sort of show that we have this center guy. Yes, that's what I want. It's pretty close. I'm going to grab that color. Select you. I want that. There we go. Okay. Then on top of this, I'm going to copy and paste so that my oval's pretty similar. I'm going to Command C, Command V, and then just bump him up a little bit. So it's like, I don't know, kind of pretending like it's, let's even center these guys. And then readjust. Okay, now the top one, let's make it kind of green. I want to utilize a similar greens. We're not going to do 10 different greens, even if the world does exist with 10 different greens. We're kind of keeping this simple and cohesive with a color palette. We're going to show our green, grab our green, lighten our green. We want him to come a little more forward. So we're going to saturate him, adjust his contrast to make him pop off the background. And there he is. Let's swap this guy so we can see him. Let's swap this guy so now we can see him. So I get it. That's not a fountain and the sidewalk, but you can see it gives you kind of the idea of like there is this roundabout and there's this center mark. Let's hit save. At this point, we've kind of done most of our pieces. Let's go add a little bit of text in. This is very simple. Let's look at our layers. Foreground looks good. Roof looks good. Those other buildings don't have a roof. Building front or facade, building back. This left, these guys stayed on their same, that stayed on his same. Oh, and I didn't move him at all into building. So let's just delete. There's nothing in here. Let's delete him. We do not need him. Let's rename these side buildings front and side buildings windows. And then we're just more accurate with that. And now let's go, oh, and then double check our background. Yes, and template. Okay. Top, make a new layer. Let's call this text, and we are almost done. Grab our text. We're going to do point text, which is what we do when we just kind of want a headline or a subheader. It is not body copy. Body copy is going to be tons of words. So we call this point. We're just going to point and click, click. We're going to spell out all caps. And actually, I'm not going to spell it out all caps. I'm going to show you a trick. State College of Florida. Go back to my main selection arrow. I'm going to scale this guy to be about the width of the building. Now that's weird. Hit shift so that you are maintaining your ratio. Ooh. Good. Close. I'm going to adjust his font anyways. It's going to mess that up. Let's make this all caps. While it's selected, type, change case, upper, love it. It's like one of my favorite. Before I even go keep adjusting the scale, let's go adjust the font. So go find your character window. Let's make sure he gets to stay. And we just want a fat font. I ended up using Arial Black. I don't mind him. You could use this if you wanted to scale him down. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to bring him up kind of high because I want to fill the space. I'm also, get down there. I can also center him perfectly on the page. And I'm kind of looking at my rule of thirds, my perfect thirds. So here's a line and here's a line. And that looks pretty good for how I want my composition to be laid out. So the main title is going to be on my, top third line, and this building kind of hits on my bottom one. You can either make a new text, point text, or you can just copy and paste and adjust. I'm going to go Command C, Command V. I want to now type in Bradenton, and if you don't do all caps right now, you can always adjust that. How do you do a bullet? I love a bullet on a Mac in one of these programs. So Option 8, space, Venice. Oops, let's spell it right. Option 8, click, Lakewood Ranch. Go scale him using shift. Zoom in more so you're getting this better. Use your numbers if you need to. Bring him up. Yeah, I do want him just like the teensy tiniest bit smaller. I can always center. And that looks good. Okay, now let's adjust their color. Let's make State College the blue. In theory, you would utilize a true color code for the exact blue. We're just kind of making it up as we go. Let's lighten him. Let's let this go back in space. Try it white as long as you can see it enough on that background. If you needed to adjust that background, you could at this point to be, let's just say, a teensy tiny bit darker now. Oh, and that looks a lot better visual contrast. I can still read the dark, I can read the light, the building still pops. If the roof line was kind of bugging you, let's go adjust that real quick. Roof, unlock. He's so light that I can barely see him. So let's darken the base with a little artistic licensing. So you got to go find your base, which he's here. There he is. Let's go darken him a little bit. And now he pops. I still see my lines. I've adjusted everything to have good visual contrast. I'm thinking about my shape motifs with my perfect thirds when I'm setting it up. I've got this pretty symmetrical actually in terms of composition. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to be real smart and also do a save as into my Creative Cloud. I'm going to call this building 2. That's fine because I don't have one of those. So I'll make sure. I'm going to hit save, which is down here at the bottom. Now I have him in my cloud as well as in my student folder. You could always double check. You could also at that point put him onto a flash drive. Very smart to keep him in as many spots as you can and knowing where he is. Save one more time. That's cool. I'm replacing him. I had already hit save, but I just want to double check. At that point, you want to click out of everything and then make sure that you are logging out of your Creative Cloud. Let me know if you have any questions.